No one was ready for it. Not Amy, not the viewers, not even Ty himself. 1 second, the door was just a door. The next it opened, and there he was, alive, standing in the middle of the Heartland house like he had never left. For a moment, time stopped. Amy's breath caught in her chest. Lindy froze. And Ty? He simply smiled, like it was the most normal thing in the world. It was just a normal day at the Heartland ranch. At least that's how it seemed. Amy was brushing Spartan in the barn. The wind was light, the sky clear, and the world felt quiet. But something was off. Amy looked distracted, like her heart was pulling her somewhere else. Lindy, playing nearby, suddenly stopped and looked toward the house. She whispered, "Daddy?" But Amy didn't hear. Back inside, the camera followed Amy as she walked toward the main house, slowly, almost without thinking. The music shifted, soft, haunting, like a memory trying to come back. And then came the moment no one expected. The front door creaked open by itself and a shadow appeared. The camera didn't show the face at first. It stayed on Amy, who froze as the color drained from her face. Her hand shook. Her eyes widened. Tears filled them before a single word was said. Then, slowly, the camera turned, and there he was, Ty Borden, standing tall, alive, and looking straight at her. The silence said everything. No dramatic music, no words, just raw emotion. Amy took a step back, her lips trembling. "Ty," she whispered, as if afraid to believe what she saw. Ty didn't answer. He just smiled gently and stepped closer. That's when Amy broke. She ran to him, tears falling down her face, and hugged him like she'd never let go again. He held her, tightly, resting his head against hers, his eyes closed. It wasn't a dream. At least it didn't feel like one. The camera panned to Lindy, who had come to the doorway. She didn't cry. She just stared, calm and curious. She tilted her head, then slowly smiled. "Daddy," she said softly. And that's when the tears hit even harder, for Amy, for Ty, for us watching. The whole scene lasted only a few minutes, but the emotions were so powerful, it felt like the world had stopped spinning. On social media, fans exploded. Is Ty really back? Is this a vision? Is Heartland going supernatural? Theories poured in from every corner of the internet. Some believed it was a dream. Others thought it was a flashback. And a few believed it was real. Ty had somehow survived and kept away for years. But the show didn't explain anything right away. That made it even more powerful. It trusted the audience to sit with the moment, to feel the shock and the confusion the same way Amy did. What made this return so special was how quiet it was. There was no big announcement, no loud music, no dramatic camera tricks. It was simple and real, just like Heartland has always been. The scene reminded fans why they love this show. It's not about twists or drama for the sake of it. It's about love, family, healing, and the moments that change your life forever. And for Amy, this moment changed everything. The question now is, was it real? Is Ty truly back? Or is Amy seeing something her heart desperately wants to believe? Whatever the truth, one thing is clear. Episode 1 of Season 19 gave us a moment we'll never forget. Amy didn't just cry because Ty was standing in front of her. She cried because everything she had locked deep inside suddenly came rushing out. For seasons, we've watched her be strong, for Lindy, for the family, for herself. But when Ty appeared, that strength cracked wide open. In that moment, Amy was no longer the strong mother or the brave horse trainer. She was just a woman who had lost the love of her life, and somehow found him again. As the camera stayed, close on Amy's face, we could see every emotion she had hidden for years. Grief, anger, confusion, love. It all came pouring out. She wasn't sure if she should smile or collapse. Her body shook, not from fear, but from something deeper. Shock, mixed with years of bottled-up pain. This wasn't a reunion filled with joy. It was raw, messy, real. The episode didn't rush to explain what was happening. Instead, it stayed with Amy as she tried to make sense of it. She walked around the house in silence after Ty's return, touching the table they once shared, staring at the photo of their wedding. Her hands lingered on the picture just a little longer than usual. Her face said what words couldn't. This moment felt too real to be a dream. Later, we saw her sitting outside staring at the horses. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't crying. She was just still. Like her heart didn't know whether to hope or protect itself. In a quiet voice, she asked Jack, "Do you think it's possible that some people come back?" Jack didn't answer right away. He simply put his hand on her shoulder and said, "Sometimes love finds a way." This line hit deep. Because that's what Amy has always believed, love, even after death, never truly leaves. And now, standing in the middle of that belief, she was afraid to trust it. Afraid that if she let herself believe Ty was really back, she might lose him all over again. Lindy, on the other hand, didn't seem confused. Children feel things adults can't explain. Lindy acted as if seeing Ty made perfect sense. She sat beside him on the couch, handed him her toy horse, and leaned on his shoulder. To her, he wasn't a ghost or a dream. He was her dad. As simple as that. Amy watched them quietly, her eyes filling with tears again. Not from sadness this time, but from something softer. Maybe for a moment she allowed herself to believe. Maybe this was real. Maybe she didn't need all the answers, just yet. Through every look and silent pause, Heartland showed us that grief isn't a straight line. It twists. It bends. It returns when we least expect it. And sometimes healing doesn't come in big steps. Sometimes it comes in one impossible moment, when a lost love walks through the door. For Amy, that moment cracked her heart open. But what would come next? Peace or more pain? That's what makes this return so powerful. We don't know yet, and neither does she. It wasn't the hug that said the most. It was the silence between Ty and Lindy. The kind of silence only two souls who already know each other need. When Ty stepped into that room, Lindy didn't run to him like a child meeting a stranger. She looked at him with calm eyes, then gently walked forward. No fear, no hesitation, just a quiet certainty that this man, this father, belonged. That moment wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic, but it hit harder than anything else in the episode. For seasons, we've seen Lindy ask questions about her dad. We've seen her stare at photos and listen closely whenever his name came up. And now, with Ty finally standing there, she didn't need to ask who he was. Her heart already knew. She reached up, took his hand, and placed it on her tiny cheek. Ty knelt down, eyes watering, and whispered her name. Lindy. That one word, simple and soft, carried years of longing, love, and heartbreak. He had missed everything. Her first steps, her first words, every birthday. And yet, here she was, offering him forgiveness without a single word. Lindy climbed into his lap as if she'd done it 100 times before. She leaned her head on his chest and closed her eyes. Ty looked at Amy, unsure if this was a dream or a gift. Amy's face trembled with emotion. It wasn't just about seeing Ty again. It was about watching their daughter finally find the piece of her life that had always been missing. What makes this scene unforgettable is how natural it felt. Lindy didn't need answers. She didn't care where he'd been or how he got back. Children don't ask for explanations. They just feel. And she felt safe. She felt whole. It was a reminder that some bonds are beyond words, beyond time, even beyond death. Fans online were left stunned. Some believed this meant Ty had been alive all along, hiding for their protection. Others thought Lindy was the key. Maybe her belief, her innocence, had somehow pulled him back. A few even said this was a vision, a final goodbye made visible, only through a child's eyes. But no matter the theory, everyone agreed. Lindy and Ty's connection was the heart of the episode. Later in the episode, Lindy was seen drawing a picture. It showed her family, Amy herself, and now Ty, smiling and holding hands. When asked what the drawing meant, she simply said, "He's home now." The line sent shivers through viewers, because whether Ty was truly back or not, Lindy had found peace. And maybe that's what matters most. Heartland didn't need flashy effects or shocking twists to tell this part of the story. It relied on emotion, on trust, on the simple magic of love between a father and daughter finally reunited, if only for a moment. The shock of Ty's return didn't stop with Amy. As soon as Jack walked into the room and saw him, the air changed. Jack didn't speak. He didn't gasp or cry. He just stood there, his eyes locked on Ty like he was seeing a ghost he both feared and hoped for. His breath caught. His shoulders stiffened. And then, in that familiar, quiet way only Jack knows, he stepped forward and pulled Ty into a firm, shaking hug. This was not a reunion filled with joy. It was heavy, full of unspoken questions and years of pain. Jack had been the rock after Ty died, the one who held Amy together, who helped raise Lindy, who buried his own sorrow deep to protect the others. Seeing Ty alive reopened all of that. Jack's eyes, normally calm and wise, now held confusion, relief, and maybe even anger. Not the yelling kind, but the kind that comes when you've made peace with someone's death, only to be forced to start all over again. Lou walked in, next. Her reaction was different. She froze in the doorway, her voice caught in her throat. Unlike Amy, Lou didn't run to Ty. She didn't even move at first. She just stared like her brain refused to believe what her eyes saw. Then came the questions. How? Where have you been? Why now? But Ty didn't answer. He just looked at her, guilt in his eyes, and said, "I'm sorry." Lou's emotions boiled over fast. She wasn't just heartbroken, she was furious. Furious at Ty for disappearing. Furious for Amy having to go through years of grief alone. Furious that Lindy missed out on her father. She stormed outside, breaking down under the weight of it all. And when Jack followed, she asked him something none of them wanted to say out loud. What if he's not really here? What if this is some kind of cruel dream? That's the pain of grief. It doesn't go away easily, and even joy, when it comes too suddenly, can feel like a trick. Lisa tried to comfort her, reminding her that Heartland has always been full of miracles. "Maybe this one's for Amy," she said gently. But Lou wasn't ready to believe. Not yet. Dinner that night was the quietest family meal in Heartland history. Everyone was there, but no one touched their food. Ty sat beside Amy, with Lindy, on his lap, but his presence felt almost too big for the room. The walls were filled with memories, some too painful to look at, some too precious to risk losing again. Jack finally spoke. His voice was low, steady, but filled with emotion. "We've all been through a lot, but if this is real, if you're here for good, then we need to start fresh, together." He looked at Ty, then Amy, then little Lindy. "No more secrets." Ty nodded. But the sadness in his eyes said it all. Whatever brought him back came at a cost. Heartland is a show about family, about holding each other up when everything falls apart. But this moment reminded us that healing isn't a straight path. Even love can be painful when it brings back the past. And for this family, Ty's return was both a blessing and a wound reopened. Now the question lingers. Can they move forward with him, or will the weight of the past pull them under?